from Tennessee.
Thank you, Madam President. I want to concur in the remarks just expressed by my colleague. And we do honor our veterans, and Senator Moran serves as our ranking member at the Veterans Affairs Committee, and we appreciate his leadership as we all seek to honor that service and to fulfill the obligation that this great nation has made to our veterans, who don't shrink from service, who don't pass the blame. They get up every day and they execute on their mission. And I think it's important for each and every one of us to remember that our service should do honor to the service and the sacrifice that they have made. Now, Madam President, for about the past year, our current president, President Biden, and many of the Democrats in the House and the Senate, where the Democrats are in charge of each of those chambers, they have spent a great deal of time blaming everyone but themselves for the historic levels of inflation that have ruined the economy and made the American people very nervous about what 2 more years of this Build Back Broke agenda would mean for them. I've said before that Tennesseans feel like they have no idea who is in control in this country over in the White House, or indeed if anyone over at the White House is in control in this country. And if you look at all the various characters featured in Biden's inflation blame game, you might be tempted to think that Biden himself is wondering the very same thing. Who is in control? Who is calling the shots? But the truth is, Madam President, that no one in the White House is confused or shocked by how bad things have gotten. They know exactly how we got here because they did it, because every step they took along the way was a deliberate attempt to reject common sense and manipulate the people into accepting a radical economic agenda. Well, in July of last year, President Biden insisted that inflation was transitory and that if we could just bring on a little bit more time and a little bit more effort and hang in there a little bit longer, you know what, everything was going to be just fine. He didn't want the people to panic and start questioning the narrative that the White House was pushing forward every single day. Surprising no one, that argument didn't fly. The people weren't buying it. So in October, suddenly, not only was inflation a problem, but guess what? It was former President Trump's fault. That's right. Not this administration's fault, not the Democrats, not President Biden. It was President Trump's fault. Well, the American people, they weren't having that either. They weren't buying that line. And over the next 5 months, the COVID-19 pandemic, so-called global challenges, supply chains, and of course, Vladimir Putin, and then Senate Republicans, everybody took a turn in the blame game seat for President Biden and the White House. It was everybody's fault but theirs. Isn't that absolutely amazing? Just amazing. The people in control of everything, the House, the Senate, the executive branch, the White House, controlling it all. They had nothing to do with this, they want you to believe. While, yes, indeed, they had everything to do with it. So last month, the Democrats had exhausted this rotation of villains, as they like to call it. Well, they panicked and they decided once again that they had to just go out here and convince the American people that, yes, indeed, inflation was transitory. It was going to be short-lived. It was only 8.5%, they would say, only. But go fill up the car, go to the grocery store. You know they're wrong. Well, unfortunately for Joe Biden, the American people are much smarter and more in tune with day-to-day life than the left has given them credit for. This administration is now in damage control mode. Last week, Secretary Yellen threw up her hands and admitted that the political narrative on inflation that she enabled put us on the road to economic collapse. On the same day, President Biden published an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal blaming Trump and Putin for his problems before touting the same radical policies the American people have already rejected. What we're seeing now is more than just the consequences of a failed political maneuver. It is the collapse of an economic philosophy the Democrats insisted was far superior to anything their political opponents would ever come up with. And the Democrats' response to this is what exactly? To say, well, they're sorry. Then they just double down. They just keep on going. Not exactly a plot twist for this administration. They intend to double down on their failed policies. At this point in Biden's blame game, Tennesseans are accustomed to watching the administration fail, but that doesn't mean that they're not paying attention to the details and the steps this administration is taking. Tennesseans are nervous, stressed out. They feel like everything is out of control, and nobody in the White House really cares about it. As I've been out about and around the state, inflation, the price at the pump, the price at the grocery store, the cost of fertilizers for our farm community, logistics costs, the cost of clothing, the cost of shoes and equipment for the kids to go to summer camp, fees at summer camp. Everything is going up. Everything. And who do people blame for this? They blame this administration. They know that in June of 2020, a gallon of gas was $2.17. This week in Tennessee, that gallon of gas is $4.47. Madam President, that is far more than 8% inflation. Coffee is up 143%. Ground beef is up. Buns are up. Eggs are up. Bread is up. Everybody is complaining about what it costs to live every single day. The playbook really is pretty simple on this. What this administration is doing is just putting it all on our debt line. But you know what? The American people know they can't afford this, and they know that their children cannot afford this. They know that the programs that this administration is pushing, big, expensive programs, the regulations that they're putting in place, primarily of the 69 regulations that President Biden has enacted since he took office, 69 regulations he's done. The majority of those, Madam President, are aimed at the energy sector. People know that it is all taxpayer money this administration is spending, and the taxpayers cannot afford this out-of-control spending spree. And they know that they cannot afford this far-left socialistic turn in this administration and in the policies of my Democratic colleagues. Now, why is this? It's because the Democrats' vision for the future isn't compatible with what families want for their future. They look at what Joe Biden is offering: more government control, less parental control, more government control, hardship on small businesses, more government control, less freedom to spend your hard-earned money. And they're saying, this is not what we want. So, I think that, Madam President, when I listen to Tennesseans and when I talk with them about their hopes and dreams, about what they want to see for the future for their children, they're not in a jovial mood. They're in a very serious mood. They're confused that this administration and Democrats would go this far left and risk goodwill. And I think that the American people have figured out we are completely on the wrong track with this administration's policies. And they have figured out that these policies are not a path to prosperity. They're a path to government control. And I think that many of my Democratic colleagues know and realize that. Certainly, Secretary Yellen has let us know that she realizes that, and probably the President knows it. But instead of saying stop, full stop, the Democrats have chosen to double down. I yield the floor, and I note the absence